Welcome back for our third week in our small group series, Change and Unchanging God in an Ever-Changing World. The title of this third week is This Ever-Changing World. It was 4 years ago in the fall that the nationwide midterm elections were held in our country, as they will be this fall. The results of those elections were, if you remember, quite historic. It had been 2 years since President Barack Obama was elected to his first term as President of the United States. And he was elected on the platform of change. Now, when those midterm elections happened 2 years later, it was historic in a way to see the sweeping change that came from the opposing Republican Party throughout the House and Senate and many state government races. Maybe you recall. The day after those elections, I was in downtown Houghton getting a coffee from Siberia Cafe when an interviewer from the Daily Mining Gazette showed up and asked me if I would be willing to be interviewed on my thoughts about the election results. And I thought to myself, I've only lived in this town for 4 months, and I'm not quite sure people's perspectives on things. And I thought, I'm a new pastor in this town. And I just thought to myself, they're asking me about politics. How political do I want to be? So here's what I said to the interviewer that day. It's true. This is what I said. I said, I think it's interesting, keyword, interesting, to see the dramatic change that has happened in this election compared to the votes that came in 2 years ago. Well, they published my response, and the next Sunday, a variety of you came up to me at church and you encouraged me to run for public office. No way. This world is ever-changing. Just like in our personal lives, there is change that happens to us and change we participate in. There's change that we hope for, and there's change that we try to prevent. Change happens throughout this world as wars and conflicts rage. Many things that we don't ever even hear about. Change happens in our political atmosphere. Change happens in this very community. Change happens in this church. Change happens in our families. Change is exhausting. Maybe that's why we are often so resistant to change. As a student of history, I often look at things that have happened in the past throughout the world and compare it to situations today. It's something I find interest in. I guess what I've come to realize is that most of the changes that happen in this world have already happened in one form or another at some point in history. They maybe have changed their names or the locations where they happen, but in essence, there's nothing, as the Bible says, new under the sun. With all of this change and turmoil that comes from it, we have the option to respond in a variety of different ways. Either we can become disillusioned by all of the change and decide that we just don't want to pay attention to everything that's going on around us. but then we're not really being faithful to the calling from God to be active in this world. Another option is that we could think that our lives are somewhat insignificant. Maybe we've tried to be agents of change in this world, and then situations unfold and other changes and circumstances happen that make the change we wanted to happen not possible anymore, and we get frustrated and just wonder why even try. Or another option is that we realize that even in the midst of all of this turmoil happening around us, that God still remains unchanged. And he always has an answer and a plan. His answer and his plan might not take place today exactly in the way that we would want. But if he is truly God, eternal and unchanging, then he will take care of things in one way or another. And most importantly, he still says to us, his people, that we have the ability and the responsibility to participate in this world and to be about the work that he has promised for us to do. Enjoy your time in study today.